Good afternoon, friends. Good morning, friends. Good evening, friends. Whoever you are, wherever you are, welcome back to another installment of the 48 Laws of Power discussion series, a book by Robert Greene. Shout out to the chat, both of you, and I'm expecting a light crowd this morning because I have been peeked around the internet and there's a lot of shit going on today. Uh, So shout out to Cat Ninja and First Shot for actually being here to visit because I mean honestly I expected one of you. I didn't actually expect both of you to be here, but I'm expecting at least one of you is also splitting your time, so double shout outs. Yes, this over here, Rumble. What are you still doing watching me on YouTube? Seriously, like, I know Catnip is here to, like, point people over to Rumble, but definitely, like, come Rumble with me. So, early edition of the 48 Laws of Power. As you can see underneath my name, it says ghosting in plain sight. Law 38 is believe as you like, but behave as others. And I, having to do this quite often myself and being relatively good at it, know how to go along to get along, also known as ghosting in plain sight. And it's, oh, good morning, Texas. Jen on the Rumble side didn't even pop into the YouTube side of things. Not that I see anyway. Straight to Rumble. Texas Jen gets it. Be like Texas Jen, y'all. I greatly appreciate that. Like, you have no idea how giddy that makes me to see that the Rumble community is growing and my YouTube community is effectively dying. Like, tis what it is. You're not going to hear me complaining. I love the fact that all the people who follow me are actually my actual community getting around to the Rumble side of things. So yeah, let's go ahead and pop this up, shall we? Boop, beep, boop, boop, beep. Now, I've given y'all my judgment on this. I didn't bother to read the chapter today because gonna do that anyway, but think as you like, but behave like others. Basically, in my experience, is being disagreeable and having a high level of trait disagreeability. Like, I hear a lot of stupid. Not just on the internet, but like in my day-to-day life when I sit and listen to people tell me what they think about this or that, I'm like, "Oh my god. If you only knew the reality of the things that you were talking about, you would be mortified." And I have spent a significant amount of time trying to educate and change people's minds and whatnot. And oh my goodness, that gets you not only nowhere, but it can actually be super counterproductive. And having disagreements with people in current year can actually cause them to actively work against you, even if you both have mutual goals. It's quite ridiculous, but People want people to conform to whatever their collective way of thinking is. And if you're a nonconformist and you don't go along to get along, people actively see you as the enemy. Even like, yeah, like I said, even if you have mutual goals, even if you're currently working towards the same ends, it's quite ridiculous. Quite ridiculous indeed. And the judgment is as follows. If you make a show of going against the times, flaunting your unconventional ideas and unorthodox ways, people will think that you only want attention and that you look down upon them. Spoiler warning, I don't only want attention, but I do look down on you. They will find a way to punish you for making them feel inferior. They will actively work against you, even if you have common goals. It is far safer to blend in and nurture the common touch. Share your originality only with tolerant friends and those who are sure to appreciate your uniqueness. Henceforth, I've stopped trying to educate dumb normies in my real life and started an online community, a presence. Well, not an online community. Like, I've mostly stolen the people in my crew from other people's online communities, but they're not dumb normies. They're tolerant friends who understand, they get like why I am the way I am, even if they don't always agree. We have enough in common that they can at least accept me for the things that we have that are different. Like, and that's what like true unity is about. It's not about like trying to force people to conform to your way of thinking, but to truly be tolerant of the fact that not everyone is going to agree on everything. The people do be stupid, Cat Ninja. Big stupid. And it gets big annoying to me because it's like, well, we can agree on this, and this, but we disagree on this and this, and it's this and this that everyone's going to focus on. It's not all the shit that we agree on, it's all the shit that is different. And that's the problem that I have with it. Shout out, I got 23 people watching on Rumble and one, no, zero watching on YouTube. We have achieved Inception. Excellent. Think with the few and speak with the many. It is easy to run into danger by trying to swim against the stream. Only a Socrates could attempt to do that, or Hideous. Disagreement is regarded as offensive because it is a condemnation of the views of others. Yep. The number of the disgruntled grow on account either of some matter that has been the object of censure or of some person who has praised it. Truth is for the few. Error is as usual as it is vulgar. Yeah, being wrong is as common as it is gross. Nor is the wise man to be recognized by what he says in the marketplace, for he speaks there not with his own voice, but with that of universal folly. However much his inmost thoughts may gainsay it. The wise man avoids being contradicted as sedulously as he avoids contradicting. The publicity of censure is withheld from that which readily provokes it. Thought is free. It cannot and should not be coerced. Retire into the sanctuary of your silence, and if you sometimes allow yourself to break it, do so under the aegis of a discreet few. Thank you, Mr. Baltasar Gracian, for that lovely punch of wisdom right in the reality. No, no, not you, Firsty. It isn't Squab. Squab is definitely a fine example of somebody who is not openly trait disagreeable. Now, me and Squab are almost night and day difference in that regard of I tend to argue far more than I need than I is necessary, is even useful sometimes. I mean, I do it amongst you guys, my friends, like across my different communities. Most people, if I go to your place, you know me. You know that this is where I have these moments where I can say exactly what I mean. Like, I can't do a lot of that in real life because it is. You know how people say, oh, you say a lot of stuff on the internet that you wouldn't say in real life. It's not that I wouldn't say it, it's that I know it's pointless. So why waste my time? I know I've tried. It's just a giant waste of time. Transgression of the law. Literally, I mean, I am a living transgression of the law and also recovering transgression of the law. So we could just like use me as an example. But let's see what Mr. Greene has to say about the topic. Around the year 478 BC, the city of Sparta sent an expedition to Persia led by the young Spartan nobleman Pausanias. The city state of Greece had recently fought off a mighty invasion from Persia, and now Pausanias, along with allied ships from Athens, had orders to punish the invaders and win back the islands and coastal towns that the Persians occupied. Both the Athenians and the Spartans had great respect for Pausanias. He had proven himself as a fearless warrior with a flair for the dramatic. With amazing speed, Pausanias and his troops took Cyprus, then moved on to the mainland of Asia Minor, known as the Hellespont, and captured Byzantium, which is modern day Istanbul. Now, master of part of the Persian Empire, Pausanias began to show signs of behavior that went beyond his normal flamboyance. Oh boy, he's getting what is called the big head. He appeared in public wearing pomades in his hair and flowing Persian robes. Oh, this is very going to be very vulgar to your Romans who oh boy, and accompanied by a bodyguard of Egyptians. This is going to be definitely very vulgar to your Roman counterparts. He held lavish banquets in which he sat in the Persian manner and demanded to be entertained. Oh, dear goodness. He stopped seeing his old friends, entered into communication with the Persian king Xerxes, and all in all affected the style and manner of a Persian dictator. Do you see a problem here? I see a fucking huge problem here because you are a Spartan, not a Persian. And the Spartans don't play that shit. Bet. Pomades? That's Darth, all right. Yeah, let's definitely replace Pausanias with Darth. Although I didn't exist in this story, I very well could have. However, I wouldn't have done this vulgar thing and betrayed my culture. Like, I wouldn't have come into your country and expected you to conform. Like, oh, no, we're taking this country. We're making it Spartan Greek uh, property again. So I will not embrace the invader culture. I will stand for the natives. Clearly, power and success had gone to Pausanias' head. His army, Athenians and Spartans alike, at first thought this a passing fancy. He had always been a bit exaggerated in his gestures. But when he flaunted his disdain for the Greeks' simple way of life and insulted the common Greek soldier, they began to feel he had gone too far. Yeah, saw that coming. Saw that coming from a mile away. Although there was no concrete evidence for this, rumors spread that he had gone over to the other side and that he dreamed of becoming a kind of Greek Xerxes. To quell the possibility of mutiny, the Spartans relieved Pausanias of his command and called him home. Oh dear, I don't want to know what happens to him when he goes home. Oh dear. Oh my goodness. Do we not see this coming? I mean, literally, this is this is vulgar and profane. Like, gross. I mean, I don't think it's profane. Obscene, vulgar and obscene. Like, just mad, tacky, and disrespectful to the entire community. That uh, Happy Friday, Go Hagen. My 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 front, my friend. Cheers, y'all. Pausanias, however, continued to dress in the Persian style, even in Sparta, so he's literally learned nothing. After a few months, he independently hired a trireme. I don't know what that is, but I'm assuming it's going to be like some mercenaries, and returned to the Hellespont, telling his compatriots he was going to continue the fight against the Persians. Actually, however, he had different plans to make himself ruler of all Greece with the aid of Xerxes himself. So all the things that they had suspected him of, yeah, there's a reason you're suspicious, my dude. It's called seeing the forest for the trees. Ooh-wee. Uh, the Spartans declared him a public enemy and sent a ship to capture him. Pausanias surrendered, certain that he could clear himself of the charges of treason. I doubt it. It did come out during the trial that during his reign as commander, he had offended his fellow Greeks time and again, erecting monuments, for instance, in his own name rather than in those of the cities whose troops had fought alongside him. As was the custom, you erect monuments to Sparta and Athens, not to Pausanias, you arrogant shitbag. Yet Pausanias proved right. Despite the evidence of his numerous contacts with the enemy, the Spartans refused to imprison a man of such noble birth and let him go. Oh, God. So you have validated all of this bullshit. Afternoon, Mort Fish Nerd. No problem. I do the noon show on Friday for people like Gohagen who can't sit in on my Monday and Wednesday shows, like because Gohagen and other people who are in different time zones are important to me as well. So yes, Replay Gang is definitely available to all on both YouTube and Rumble now, and I'm working on actually porting out everything that didn't auto syndicate from YouTube over to Rumble. So I'll be dropping the archives uh, a couple a week on Rumble if you're a Rumble audience viewer that's interested in seeing all 38 laws. Like they'll be there eventually. First one chat was inflourished in 1999 when suddenly he was pounced upon. Oh dear goodness, there's something going on over here. I'm smelling a mutiny in the Rumble chat. Now thinking himself untouchable, because that's basically what you told him, Pausanias hired a messenger to take a letter to Xerxes, but the messenger instead took the letter to the Spartan authorities. Oh dear. These men wanted to find out more, so they had the messenger arrange to meet Pausanias in a temple where they could hide and listen behind a partition. When Pausanias said what Pausanias said shocked them. They had never heard such contempt for their ways spoken so brazenly by one of their own, and they made arrangements for his immediate arrest. He got what is called the political elitism in his head and thought himself actually untouchable. Oofty oofed it. He's about to get the non friend Bopper 3000. Because you ain't one of us. On his way home from the temple, Pausanias got word of what happened. I don't know how he did that. He ran to another temple to hide, but the authorities followed him there and placed sentries all around. Surrounded you are, my friend. Pausanias refused to surrender. Unwilling to forcibly remove him from the sacred temple, the authorities kept him trapped inside until he eventually died of starvation. Benevixit qui bene latuit. He who lives well, he lives well who conceals himself well. Ovid. Yeah, I mean, yeah. Ghost in plain sight. He sedulously did? I hate when they throw words in here that I don't know because I thought I really knew all the words, and I just keep coming across words that I don't know in this this book. And then shit in other languages that I don't speak, like Surrender Monkey or Latin. I've given you my interpretation, and my interpretation is going to be a lot less wordy and a lot more damn direct than the interpretation written by Mr. Robert Greene. This dude got up, jumped, was respected, went over to the dark side and flaunted like his old like he flaunted his new beliefs in the face of the people who were loyal to him. Like that's literally like I don't know, coming here and getting a position of political influence and then simping for I don't know Palestine or Ukraine or Mexico or Israel or literally any other fucking country that isn't the fucking United States where you have come to literally be like I mean that's your place. That's it's not like he went to Persia and tried to become Persian. He conquered a bunch of territories that the Persians reconquered anyway. That in the name of Greece. Like, did you forget whose team you were on? You shit hat. You done fucked up. You done fucked up. Interpretation. At first glance, it might seem that Pausanias simply fell in love with another culture, a phenomenon as old as time. And I will admit, like, when I first learned about like the actual ancient cultures of East Asia, like the samurai, and the Tibetan Buddhist monks, I was enamored and fascinated by these cultures, not just because they were so deeply different from ours, but because like the values that they professed, honor and uh, you know, respect, loyalty, knowledge. Like I, I share a lot of these concepts of values. So, like the samurai and the monks, they were definitely super fascinating. Like, did I try to become like an ancient East Asian Japanese guy in America? No. I appreciated the culture, and then I realized that none of that shit's valid here in my culture. So, I mean, the concepts are good, valid concepts, but we're not embracing that shit. So, it makes very little use for my time. Sup, Frogget? Welcome over on the Rumble side. We got uh, Inya. I figured Shelly would still be going Inya, so I didn't figure you'd even be here. Yeah, go and try to pollute other people's cultures, especially the Asians, and see what happens. Exactly. That this seems to be a phenomenon that actually only happens in the US, Canada, Britain, literally the Western Alliance, the G7 countries, if you will. We allow this polluting shit. Oh, she is still going. Yeah, I figured she was. She goes for hours and hours, and I guarantee you, is with what I know now from seeing her stream, she's definitely not done yet. At least she wasn't when I left, which was only a half hour ago. Never comfortable with the asceticism with of of the Spartans. I don't know if this is a typo. I I've never heard that word either. Asceticism of the Spartans. He found himself enthralled by the Persian love of Okay, so asceticism is probably like simplicity. Uh, yeah, because he found himself enthralled by the Persian love of luxury and sensual pleasure. So he did not like the uh minimalistic stand of his actual culture. Sup, Castro on the Rumbo side? Yep, I'm all too aware of that. He put on Persian robes and perfumes with a sense of deliverance from Greek discipline and simplicity. This is how it appears when people adopt a culture in which they were not raised. Often, however, there is also something else at play. People who flaunt their infatuation with a different culture are expressing a disdain and contempt for their own. They are using the outward appearance of the exotic to separate themselves from the common folk, who you unquestioningly follow. There's a lot of typos in this one, mostly extra spaces that don't belong here. Like this is supposed to be one word. Unquestioningly follow the local customs and laws and to express their sense of superiority. So, yeah, basically by embracing the exotic, they're trying to indicate that they're better and more refined and more cultured than you. And you just look like a cultured, like a swag jack and retard to them. But that's because they're simple, common folk and they don't care anything for the exotic. Otherwise, they would act with more dignity, showing respect for those who do not share their desires. Indeed, their need to show their difference so dramatically often makes them disliked by the people whose beliefs they challenge. Indirectly and suddenly, perhaps, but offensively nonetheless. As Thucydides wrote of Pausanias, by his contempt for the laws and his imitation of foreign ways, he had made himself very widely suspected of being unwilling to abide by normal standards. I mean, I know a guy who is in the top position of authority in my country, and I've heard him say so many praising things of the current system of China. China. Say it right. Say it correctly. China. Yeah. When they're actually like a total authoritarian fascistic regime, literally, they call themselves the Communist Party, but they're fascists. And we call ourselves a democratic republic, but we're fascist actually, in practice, not in concept. But once upon a time, we used to stand for liberty and liberty, and literally don't need to add to that. Okay, folks. Let's. We don't stand for liberty anymore. Now, if you ask people, like, democracy and equality are the things we value now, and those are the ways of the communist. But I digress. Littering and disturbing my life. And this is what I charge them. And in contempt and treason, I find them. Cultures have norms that reflect centuries of shared beliefs and ideals, or in our case, like a couple centuries. We're literally not even quite to 250 yet, but do not expect to scoff at such things with impunity. You will be punished somehow, even if just through isolation, a position of real powerlessness. Unfortunately, one of the issues that I have in the real world is this same isolation. Because I don't embrace the ridiculous, retarded concepts that permeate our culture in our time. And I actually know people who do believe that women and men are equal, like interchangeably the same, that we are a democracy and that's our strongest value, that diversity is our strength, that the most important issue of the day is a woman's right to murder her unborn child. I don't agree with any of that shit. None of it. But I know people who do. And there's no point in talking to them because they literally just collectivize together to try to destroy you for having a dissenting opinion. And that happens. Like, that is not a new concept. That shit is older than our societal history. Many of us, like Pausanias, feel the siren call of the exotic, the foreign, like, freedom. Freedom to just be left the fuck alone. Measure and moderate this desire. That's why I do it here. Flaunting your pleasure in alien ways of thinking and acting will reveal a different motive to demonstrate your superiority over your fellows. Wise men should be like coffers with double bottoms, which when others look into being opened, they see not all that they hold. Yes, certain shit you have to keep to yourself in mixed company. Even if it is fucking true. There's no point in saying it because you're not going to affect the outcome that you desire. You are going to bring the fury of bullshit down on your head. Observance of the law. During the late 16th century, a violent reaction against the Protestant Reformation erupted in Italy. The Counter Reformation, as it was called, included its own version of the Inquisition to root out all deviations from the Catholic Church. So these are your conservatives, by the way, of current time. The Lutherans, the Protestants, were the revolutionaries. The Counter Reformation, these are your modern day conservatives. And this is fucking relevant for a reason. Among its victims was the scientist Galileo, but an important thinker who suffered an even greater persecution was the Dominican monk and philosopher Tommaso Campanella. A follower of the materialist doctrine of the Roman philosopher Epicurus, Campanella did not believe in miracles or in heaven and hell, so he's an atheist. The church, I mean, if you don't believe in miracles or in heaven and hell, like, but you believe in God, like, the church had promoted such superstitions, he wrote, to control the common folk by keeping them in fear. I actually, at one point in my time before I got to see God myself acting in my own life, like clear as day, had such beliefs of my own, like that religion was just a tool written by people who were smarter than average people to keep them in line. And it actually does serve to do that in a lot of cases. Such ideas verged on atheism. Like I said, he's an atheist. And Campanella expressed them incautiously. Oh boy. In 1593, the Inquisition threw him into prison for his heretical beliefs. Heretics! I mean, I think I was a heretic for a while. 6 years later, as a form of partial release, he was confined to a monastery in Naples. Oh dear goodness. Is that a partial release at all? Like, no, it's the Roman Inquisition, I think, because this happened in Italy. I know it's the Roman Catholic Church that did it, so it's not the Spanish Inquisition, it was the Roman Inquisition. Southern Italy was controlled by Spain at the time, oh dear goodness. And in Naples, Campanella became involved in a plot to fight and throw out these invaders. His hope was to establish an independent republic based on his own ideas of utopia. Oh my goodness, how often does this ever work out? I know a guy named Marx who had the same bullshit idea. I know a guy named Adolf who had the same bullshit idea. I know some retards right now in power that have the same bullshit idea, nonsensical utopia that doesn't exist. How many people have to die in the name of fucking your dumb utopia before you realize that utopia doesn't exist and that the best path to anything as close to utopia as you could get is pure freedom? They'll never get it. The leaders of the Italian Inquisition, working with their Spanish counterparts, had imprisoned him again. Okay, I guess you were right. This time they also tortured him. Good. To discover the true nature of his impious beliefs. He was subjected to the infamous La Veglia, a torture in which he was suspended by his arms in a squatting position a few inches above a seat studded with spikes. The posture was impossible to sustain, and in time the victim would end up sitting on the spikes, which would tear his flesh at the slightest contact. So these are extremely sharp spikes. I'm well aware that it's a myth, squab. It's just as ridiculous of a concept as the communist utopia, the anarchist utopia. The fatal flaw with the idea of pure freedom is that there are people who don't benefit. And the vast majority of people, I mean, they benefit, but they don't get to win. They don't get to be at the top or in power. And then jealousy and, uh, the great divide of the haves and the have nots, which always exists in any system. But it sparks a level of jealousy and that leads to indignation and resentment and hatred and eventually war and the cycle of the weak men creating the hard times. continues in perpetuity forever. During these years, however, Campanella learned something about power. Facing the prospect of execution for heresy, he changed his strategy. He would not renounce his beliefs, yet he knew he had to disguise their outward appearance. To save his life, Campanella feigned madness, like a mental illness, and then said, "You can't attack me for my mental illness. Durr, re. I'm a crazy person. You have to accept me for who I am." To, he let his inquisitors imagine that his beliefs stemmed from an uncontrollable unsoundness of mind. For a while, the tortures continued to see if his insanity was faked, but in 1603 his sentence was commuted to life in prison. The first 4 years of this he spent chained to a wall in an underground dungeon. Despite such conditions, he continued to write, although no longer would he be so foolish as to express his ideas directly. Smart. He's learning. Darth, dude, scroll down for us. You're sedulously stuck. Well, stop using that word, damn it. You know I don't know what it means. And I'm scrolling as fast as I can. Sometimes I get too close to the bottom. One book of Campanella's, The Hispanic Monarchy, promoted the idea that Spain had a divine mission to expand its powers around the world and offered the Spanish king practical Machiavelli type advice for achieving this. Despite his own interest in Machiavelli, the book in general presented ideas completely the opposite to his own. The Hispanic monarchy was, in fact, a ploy, an attempt to show his conversion to orthodoxy in the boldest manner possible. It worked. In 1626, 6 years after its publication, the Pope finally let Campanella out of prison. Shortly after gaining his freedom, Campanella wrote Atheism Conquered, a book attacking free thinkers, Machiavellians, Calvinists, and heretics of all stripes. The book is written in the form of debates in which the heretics express their beliefs and are countered by arguments for the superiority of Catholicism. Campanella had obviously reformed. His book made that clear. Or did it? Calvinist. That's you, right, Swab? Calvinists, yay! Yeah, sounds like a group nowadays. Yeah, that's. I mean, all of this is very relevant because the nature of power never changes. It only like rebrands itself, so you don't know its destructive past. And the average normie dipshit falls for it every time because, well, uh, that wasn't real communism, guys. We gotta do it again. The arguments in the mouths of the heretics had never before been expressed with such verve and freshness. Pretending to present their side only to knock it down, Campanella actually summarized the case against Catholicism with striking passion. When he argued the other side, supposedly his side, on the other hand, he resorted to stale cliches and convoluted rationales. Brief and eloquent, the heretic's arguments seemed bold and sincere. The lengthy arguments for Catholicism seemed tiresome and unconvincing. So he's doing the thing that I call reframing the narrative. There, our current media establishment is really, really clever. I mean, they're not clever at all at framing the narrative, but if you read headlines and articles written in mainstream publications today, they like to phrase things very specifically to lead you down a path that they want you down. Are they telling you the truth? I mean, in their definition of it, yeah. But are they giving you like an unbiased opinion? Oh, no, no, no. They're trying to manipulate you. They're trying to get you to believe as they believe. Eh, Scroll back up. Scroll up. Oh, scroll is frozen, so dear goodness. Lost my position. Catholics who read the book found it disturbing and ambiguous, yet they could not claim it was heretical or that Campanella should be returned to prison. His defense of Catholicism, after all, used arguments they had used themselves. Yet in the years to come, atheism conquered became a Bible for atheists. Machiavellians and libertines who used the arguments Campanella had put in their mouths to defend their dangerous ideas combined an outward display of conformity with an expression of his true beliefs. In a way that his sympathizers would understand, Campanella showed that he had learned his lesson. Yup, wink wink, learned my lesson. Hey, the Calvinists call it passive aggressive. Believe Calvinism, it's really cool. Uh, I don't endorse this. I don't know anything about Calvinism, but believe them. It's really cool because Swabab said so, and Swabab would never steer you wrong unless he was steering you to some belief that is counterintuitive to your values. But he had learned his lesson. He literally did learn his lesson. You can't just say this shit in mixed company, homie. They gonna persecute the shit out of you for that. Nowadays, the libertine Machiavellian concepts are things like, I don't know, maybe we shouldn't offer free gibs like hotel rooms and debit cards and air travel to a bunch of fucking foreign invaders who illegally cross the border. That's a modern day heresy, according to the established authority, even though all the fucking people agree. Or maybe we shouldn't, I don't know, lock people in their houses because of a common cold and then force them to take an experimental gene therapy or lose their jobs or like all types of like basically try to ostracize you from society. Like maybe that's a bad idea. And I think in general the orthodoxy learned that maybe doing that shit, but I don't know. I expect them fully when Disease X is actually released to the general public. I expect them to try to do all the exact same stupid shit again. It was very unpopular the first time, but the orthodoxy doesn't care. You're a heretic. Sit down and shut up. listen and believe, do what you're told. Don't question authority. And yeah, we dissenters have been effectively silenced. Interpretation. In the face of awesome persecution, Campanella devised three strategic moves that saved his hide, freed him from prison, and allowed him to continue to express his beliefs. First, he feigned madness, the medieval equivalent of disavowing responsibility for one's actions. You know, like the Troon Squad with the whole, oh, you can't blame me, I was born this way. Well, why are you trying to force people who weren't to conform to your belief, Troon Squad? Yeah, that's why you want to manipulate children. Yeah, that's why you want to confuse the youth, the impressionable minds, right? Hmm. Like blaming one's parents today. That's another one that you see commonly. Like, I was raised this way, or this is like my parents were uh, responsible for all the wrongs in my life, and if I had just had better parenting, like I wouldn't be so broken today. Next, he wrote a book that expressed the exact opposite of his own beliefs. Finally, and most brilliantly of all, he disguised his ideas while insinuating them at the same time. It is an old but powerful trick. You pretend to disagree with dangerous ideas. Like, I mean, one that I like to do is identify as a masculine presenting transgendered lesbian because that is a really long way to say cis man. Like, literally, very long way to say. But because I incorporated the transgenders and the lesbians, like, I literally get quadruple oppression points for that. But, I don't need to get an operation because, well, that's not how I identify. Like, I don't need to chop off my genitals to prove because what is a woman? Bitch, you can't even define it. Checkmate. I win. You pretend to disagree with dangerous ideas, but in the course of your disagreement, you give those ideas expression and exposure. You seem to conform to the prevailing orthodoxy, but those who know will understand the irony involved. Yes, to all my straight men out there, especially my straight white men, the masculine presenting transgendered lesbian full embracement of the bacon flag of victory, it's a hack. And you might not think it's a hack, but if you really want to shut these people up, hit them with that one once. They won't know what the fuck to make of it because they've never heard anyone use their own damn concept of logic against like it's anti-logic, but use it against them. Why not? You have to out crazy the crazy. You are protected. It is inevitable in society that certain values and customs lose contact with their original motives and become oppressive. Like this push for safety and security over liberty and responsibility. Hmm. And there will always be those who rebel against such oppression, harboring ideas far ahead of their time, or in some cases, ideas that are being lost to time. As Campanella was forced to realize, however, there is no point in making a display of your dangerous ideas if they only bring you suffering and persecution. Martyrdom serves no purpose. It doesn't. Better to live on in an oppressive world, even to thrive in it. Meanwhile, find a way to express your ideas subtly for those who understand you. Laying your pearls before swine will only bring you trouble. And who was it that said, do not cast your pearls before swine? Anybody? Anybody? That's the point, Squad Bob. When you argue both sides, wink, wink, nudge, nudge, how can you know? How can you know at all? Never combat any man's opinion, for though you reached the age of Methuselah, you would never have done so, never have done setting him right upon all the absurd things that he believes. It is also well to avoid correcting people's mistakes in conversation, however good your intentions may be. For it is easy to offend people and difficult, if not impossible, to mend them. If you feel irritated by the absurd remarks of two people whose conversation you happen to overhear, you should imagine that you are listening to the dialogue of two fools in a comedy. The man who comes into the world with the notion that he is really going to instruct it in matters of the highest importance may thank his stars if he escapes with a whole skin. Arthur Schopenhauer. Well said, Mr. Schopenhauer. Well said. And that's the bottom line of it. Like, you think you're going to tell these retards that they're retarded and they should listen to you? I mean, even if you're right, that's not going to work. I mean, you could sit here and try to correct them, even if they're like flat out wrong. Like maybe, like, I don't know, letting biological males compete in women's sports. Like, on the one hand, women's sports have never been more relevant to society, so they should be thanking these biological males for actually making anyone give a shit that they were playing sports in the first place. On the other hand, Fallon Fox broke a woman's skull and was proud of it. Fallon Fox is a trans MMA fighter. I think Chris Cyborg might be too, but I don't have proof of that. She might just be on the most steroids in the history of ever. For a long time, I have not said what I believed, nor do I ever believe what I say. And if indeed sometimes I do happen to tell the truth, I hide it among so many lies that it is hard to find. Niccolo Machiavelli, in a letter to Francesco um, Niccardini. That's a fun name right there. That almost sounds like a straight racism. Niccardini. We're going with it. No, Darth. It was about body. Oh, the body positivity people, healthy at any size, and all of that. Even though like obesity has been known to be extremely unhealthy for all of human existence until we started embracing like delusions as reality. Hmm. That kind of that kind of body image thing. Because I definitely agree with not correcting people on that. Let them fat. But unfortunately, we who pay the taxes often end up subsidizing their medical care through Medicaid and whatnot. So we should have a vested interest in them staying healthy. Just saying. Yeah. I mean, ghosting in plain sight. Uh, those of you who have been with me for a long time know that espouse a lot of MGTOW philosophies. If you're familiar, if you know, you know. And if you don't know, you probably have some misconceptions about what MGTOW actually means and why it's a thing. But I learned very quickly on when I was starting to actually like learn the truth of what the MGTOW were saying that you can't just express those ideas. They are actually considered hate speech because they're critical of women. And even though feminism primarily benefits women, it was men who instituted it by allowing women to LARP as equals. Oh, body modification, like tattoos, breast implant. Yeah. Yeah. mm, A lot of that shit's not attractive. In some cases, uh, a little augmentation doesn't hurt, but the people who take it to an extreme end up with Michael Jackson's nose. Or they end up like that chick that's going around my Twitter feed that used to be like really pretty and now she looks like very scarily like Blair White because she got a bunch of like she got a whole face reconstruction and she does look a lot like Blair White in her after picture and I'm like, well, I mean, Blair White did decent for a man trying to look like a woman, but for a woman trying to look like a man trying to look like a woman, you could have just looked like a woman and been. I mean, she was a pretty ass girl before she got uh, a bunch of plastic surgery, and she came out looking worse for wear. But uh, the the nip tuck nightmares, like the plastic surgery nightmare fuel that you can find on the internet of plastic surgery gone horribly wrong. Like Michael Jackson's nose is one example. Madonna's current face, she looks like the Predator. No bullshit. Another example. And if you haven't seen it, you should go Google Madonna looking like the Predator. That shit's hilarious. Because you have done this to yourself, you old hag. I have no sympathy for you. Keys to power, y'all. We all tell lies and hide our true feelings. For complete free expression is a social impossibility, as I have stated over and over again in this law. From an early age, we learn to conceal our thoughts, telling the prickly and insecure what we know they want to hear. And that's another thing that's all too common is when people say they want someone to be honest with them, they're lying. What they really mean is they want somebody to mean the lies they tell when we tell them what they want to hear. They want to know that you believe as they do, even though you don't. And they want you to mean it. Watching carefully lest we offend them, because offending them is just more work than it's worth. For most of us, this is natural. There are ideas and values that most people accept. That's called the Overton window. And it is pointless to argue. We believe what we want to, then, but on the outside, we wear a mask. We have to. There are people, however, who see such restraints as intolerable infringements on their freedom. That was me. Now I understand that it's a reasonable infringement on my freedom for my own well being, but it took me a long time to realize that because I thought I had to save the world. And then I realized most of the world can't be saved. Most of the world doesn't want to be saved. And the only recourse is to allow these people to suffer the inevitable consequences of their stupid opinions and their shitty beliefs. To quote Batman, I'm not going to kill you, but I don't have to save you either. I don't get the reference, my friend. And who have a need to prove the superiority of their values and beliefs. In the end, though, their arguments convince only a few and offend a great deal more. Living proof, I can confirm this to be true. The reason arguments do not work is that most people hold their ideas and values without thinking about them. This is why we call them NPCs. There's a strong emotional content in their beliefs. They really do not want to have to rework their habits of thinking, and when you challenge them, whether directly through your arguments or indirectly through your behavior, they are hostile. Oh dear, there's a T3 there's a T3 raid going on. Oh my goodness. How many people could be coming from Michelle's chat to join me? Darth never watched The Graduate with Dustin Hoffman and Catherine, what's her name? Nope. I am woefully inept in my movie trivia. There are so many movies that are considered world class movies that I've never seen. We call them NPCs because they are part of the Matrix. They are non playable characters. They just operate on their programming. They don't think about what they believe or why they believe it. Hey, 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 T3 Ellie came to say hi and bye. Got to start schooling the kids. Well, I mean, if you want, the replay will always be there. Hello, Mimsy. Good to see you. Who's rated over on the oh no, nobody's rated over on the Rumble side. Let's do a head count real quick. Haven't done one in a while. The number showing on Rumble 21. The number now, thanks to the T3 raid, 15. So shout out to all of y'all on YouTube. Shout out to all of y'all on Rumble. On the count of three, everybody hit the thumb button direction of your choosing, up or down. One, two, three. Boop. Now that we've gotten that out of the way, yeah, it's fine. Like, I understand. This definitely not the content for everybody, and everybody got shit to do. I did this in the middle of the day for most people. But some people can't be here for the late streams, so that is what it is as well. Wise and clever people learn early on that they can display conventional behavior and mouth conventional ideas without having to believe in them. The power these people gain from blending in is that of being left alone to have the thoughts they want to have and to express them to the people they want to express them to. It is called ghosting in plain sight, without suffering isolation or ostracism. Once they have established themselves in a position of power, they can try to convince a wider circle of the correctness of their ideas, perhaps working indirectly using Campanella's strategies of irony and insinuation. Now, I, on the other hand, have learned a methodology of my own, if you will, to transgress and to observe the law indirectly. I don't try to change people's beliefs. I try to get them to change mine. I try through inquisition to get you to change my mind. And I ask a lot of questions to get you to quantify your beliefs into something tangible, something I can hold on to, something that would make sense to me. And you'd actually be surprised how often you can tear down somebody's beliefs just by asking questions. Because a lot of people don't know why they believe what they believe. So just dig to the bottom of their beliefs and find out how actually shallow that bottom is. And let them figure it out for themselves. Be funny if you were like, your teacher is sick. Good luck with your substitute and just go in the bathroom. Oh, dear God, don't leave your kids with me. That's a terrible idea. In the late 14th century, the Spanish began a massive persecution of the Jews. Ah, Jews. You guys find yourself getting persecuted everywhere you go. But if everybody's always persecuting the Jews, maybe it's not everybody. Maybe it's you. I mean, have you ever thought that it might be you? Because you do seem to get persecuted everywhere you go. Just saying. Not insinuating anything or any. No, no, no. We're not all the same. Absolutely. We're all dramatically different. That's what makes us wonderful. And that diversity of thought and diversity of ideas is what allows the most valuable to be actually chaffed from the, the like like the grain from the chaff separated apart. Cheers, y'all. That's not winning, Cat Ninja, for the record. I don't know who that is, but I know who that isn't, because winning wouldn't appear on an alt account. Winning would bring his own name, and he would probably bring it to the Rumble side. Oh, it is? Okay, my bad. Sorry, I couldn't take confirmation from winning directly, but if T3 verifies, then I have gone from skepticism to instant belief. So I fucks with it. Sup winning. It's his parody account because yes, yes, yes. I understand completely. Uh, YouTube don't like me either, so the numbers be what they are. Okay, back to the persecution of the Jews, the 14th century persecution of the Jews, murdering thousands and driving others out of the country. Those who remained in Spain were forced to convert. Yet, over the next 300 years, the Spanish noticed a phenomenon that disturbed them. Many of the converts lived their outward lives as Catholics, yet somehow managed to retain their Jewish beliefs. Jewish, the Jews are the pinnacle of nonconformists. For thousands of years, people have been trying to get Jews who come into their country to conform. For thousands of years, they've not been conforming to anyone's beliefs. Many of these so called Marranos, originally a derogatory term, being the Spanish for pig, I thought that was cerdo, attained high levels of government office, married into the nobility, and gave every appearance of Christian piety, only to be discovered late in life as practicing Jews. The Spanish Inquisition was specifically commissioned to ferret them out. Over the years, they mastered the art of dissimulation, displaying crucifixes liberally, giving generous gifts to churches, even occasionally making anti Semitic remarks, and all the while maintaining their inner freedom and beliefs. I mean, anti Semitic remarks apply to not just to the Jews, all all Abrahamic religions are. Oh yeah, that's why that's 100% why I was skeptical. Like I don't expect to see him on a name that isn't the one that I am familiar with, and myself, I've been victim of this same thing where people like to try to impersonate me or make names that are like par- uh, parody to my own. Like when the uh, initial march against me happened, a lot of people made names that were trying to mock me. I figured out who most of those people were. Literally one person, multiple times. Although only cops to one. Also, call people a marron, which means brown, but in the reference means excrement. Oh, I know you know who it was. I know who it was too. Like I said, they copped to it. So, well, they copped to one, and I know for a fact another one was T double B. Anyway, in society, the Morenos knew outward appearances are what matter. This remains true today. The strategy is simple. As Campanella did in Writing Atheism Conquered, make a show of blending in, even going so far as to be the most zealous advocate of the prevailing orthodoxy. If you stick to conventional appearances in public, few will believe you think differently in private. This is a lot of why I very rarely ever show my face on stream. Like, I don't want a lot of people who I have to deal with in actual reality to associate my extremism with me because they will go out of their way to try to make my life unnecessarily difficult. And I would just as soon share my beliefs here where I can comfortably, safely, and leave all that shit out of it. Like, I don't want to be recognized. Bird poop. I think he's talking about bird poop. Most bird shit is white. There's some green in it, green and white. Like Michigan State Spartans colors are also green and white. Coincidence? No, no, not really. Oh, maroon, yeah, brown, yeah, bird shit. That's. I mean, if you let it completely like dry out. I've seen cat shit turn white after like a long period of like fossilization and whatnot. The citizen and the traveler. Look around you, said the citizen. This is the largest market in the world. Oh, surely not, said the traveler. Well, perhaps not the largest, said the citizen, but much the best. You are certainly wrong there, said the traveler. I can tell you. They buried the stranger in the dusk. Fables by Robert Louis Stevenson. If Machiavelli had a prince for disciple, the first thing he would have recommended him to do would have been to write a book against Machiavellism. Voltaire. And yeah, I mean, if you were going to learn from me, the first thing I would have you do is not do any of the shit that I do. Do not try any of the shit I say here at home. I mean, definitely try doing the ghosting in plain sight and don't express any of your extremist beliefs amongst people who could actually make your life difficult. This I implore you, like only very few people are going to be open to listening, and a lot of people will be open to trying to do harm to you. Do not be so foolish as to imagine that in our own time the old orthodoxies are gone. Jonas Salk, for instance, thought science had gotten past politics and protocol. Ha! Science! The science! Past politics and protocol. Turns out that, like, 99% of scientists agree with who is funding them. Yeah, dog shit too. Like, dog shit, cat shit. Yeah, my poop is actually, like, kind of a green color. I'm not going to explain why, but it's fine. It's fine. Do not try the Darthisms at home at all. Nope. To me, there's more extreme than saying there's nothing more extreme than saying a man can be a woman or vice versa. It's not the fact that the belief, the orthodoxy is retarded. It's that it's the orthodoxy. And the people who believe that clearly haven't thought about any of that, have they? So the fact that you think for yourself is extreme to them because duh, just listen and believe. Like it just makes sense, bro. Like explain it to me. Make it make sense. If your poop is green, you need more Jesus and less roughage. Lord. Well, thank you for that. I probably need more Jesus and probably less drinking. It's the drinking swab. It's the alcohol. It's not the weed. It's the alcohol. We all knew it was. We all knew it was the alcohol. It's the liquor. The liquor does that. And so, in his search for a polio vaccine, he broke all the rules, going public with a discovery before showing it to the scientific community, taking credit for the vaccine without acknowledging the scientists who had paved the way, making himself a star. The public may have loved him, but scientists shunned him. His disrespect for his community's orthodoxies left him isolated, and he wasted years trying to heal the breach and struggling for funding and cooperation. I wonder if Dr. Robert Malone and Peter McCullough are experiencing the exact same thing. Yeah, then there was a great vax, huh? Or, uh, arguably. I mean, if you didn't want to walk anywhere, I mean, Funny thing about polio in the modern year, like for the last 100 years, the number one uh, way to get polio today is to get the polio vaccine. The odds of you getting polio if you don't get the polio vaccine are dramatically diminished because people in civilized places don't get polio today. Just saying. But they don't want you to talk about that because there's a significant financial interest in not talking about that. Yeah, what Darth drinks? You quote the Book of Darth often in public. First shot. It's a good thing that you're the first one shot because there may come a day where you have to shoot. Wait a minute, did miss a funnyism that Ellie did? I want to know the funny. Well, with the disease hordes invading, uh, you know what? You're making me want to go get a polio vax. You're not wrong. And regardless of what my retarded piece of shit Governor Gretchen Whitmer has to say, Michigan stands with the 25 states and 3 Canadian provinces that are new Texas. The people of Michigan stand. Our governor will not. Bertolt Brecht underwent a modern, it says modem form, but this is supposed to say modern form of Inquisition. The House Un American Activities Committee and approached it with considerable canniness. Having worked off and on in the American film industry during World War II, in 1947, Brecht was summoned to appear before the committee to answer questions on his suspected communist sympathies. Oh no, the heckin' commies. Bring back the Un American Activities Committee, please. Can we bring back, can we have a rejection of modernity and a return to McCarthyism where we just hunted commies all over the country? And then, I mean, do what must be done? Pinochet had a good idea. How you deal with commies? Other writers called before the committee made a point of attacking its members and of acting as belligerently as possible in order to gain sympathy for themselves. Brecht, on the other hand, who had actually worked steadfastly for the communist cause, played the opposite game. He answered questions with ambiguous generalities that defied easy interpretation, just like your modern day commie sympathizer politician. We call them the establishment. And I do not recall. I'm just saying. Call it the Campanella strategy. Brecht even wore a suit, a rare event for him, and made a point of smoking a cigar during the proceedings. Ah, back in those days, you could still smoke in the court. My, how times have changed because we are the free country. Knowing that a key committee member had a passion for cigars, in the end, he charmed the committee members who let him go scot free. Brecht then moved to East Germany, where he encountered a different kind of inquisition. Here, the communists were in power, and they criticized his plays as decadent and pessimistic. He did not argue with them, but made small changes in the performance scripts to shut them up. Meanwhile, he managed to preserve the published text as written. His outward conformity in both cases gave him the freedom to work unhindered without having to change his thinking. Like Mr. Jordan Peterson, I just saw an article that he's losing his clinical license in Canada as a psychologist or psychiatrist or whatever the fuck he is. Canada's taking his clinical license unless he actually goes through re-education training, and Jordan Peterson, being the stubborn shit he is going to stand on his principles and not conform to what they demand instead of just going and faking it, bro, because he knows he won't be able to come out of that and continue to espouse the belief openly that he does. So they're canceling his profession, but oh well. Couldn't have happened to a nicer bootlicker. Fucking Canadians. And I have no love lost for Jordan Peter shit. He can go clean his own damn room. In the end, he made his way safely through dangerous times in different countries through the use of little dances of orthodoxy and proved he was more powerful than the forces of repression. Not only do people of power avoid the offenses of Pausanias and Salk, they also learn to play the clever fox and feign the common touch. Like this had been the ploy of con artists and politicians throughout the centuries. Con artists and politicians, and why are they the same thing? Going along with communists leads to trade rights, just saying. I mean, sup, great liquor over on Rumbo side. But yeah, this right here, con artists and politicians, same thing throughout the centuries. Leaders like Julius Caesar and Franklin Delano Roosevelt have overcome their natural aristocratic stance to cultivate a familiarity with the common man. I will add Donald J. Trump to this list because he does the same thing. They have expressed this familiarity in little gestures, often symbolic, to show the people that their leaders share popular values despite their different status. Yes, I put Donald J. Trump's name on that list because he's very good at this. He's very good at making normal people feel like he's one of them, even though blatantly we can all look at him and know for a fact that he is of a completely different class than 90% of us. We could admire him for at least trying to appeal to the average everyday person, which I don't see a lot of our modern day aristocrats doing. In fact, they kind of snub their noses and turn them up at normal people, even though they pretend to pander for you when they need your votes. Hmm. Oh, yeah. Back when comedy was still allowed, but that's why the orthodoxy is trying to end comedy because comedians can couch their beliefs in the funny and make them appealing. FDR almost as bad as Wilson, almost as bad as LBJ. Not almost as bad as Wilson. Wilson is in a universe all his own, but if I'm going to give you my top 5 worsties, they're going to be Woodrow Wilson, FDR, LBJ, and then you can pick two out of these three: Barack Obama, Joseph Biden, or Abraham Lincoln. All for very different, well, Obama and Biden basically the same thing, so don't really need to differentiate between those two. Lincoln for completely different reasons, with involving the complete destruction of the Constitution, but don't get me started. Don't get me started, please. I will pop off. Yep, they all do it. Remember, Bill, I'm just a good old boy from Hope, Arkansas that loves to play his sex. I mean, sax. Yeah, you know it, buddy. I mean, the good ones do it. The good ones do it. They make you feel like they're one of you. And you are talking, of course, of my man Slick Willie Clinton. Slick Willie, yo. Yeah, that good old Arkansas boy. Right. Definitely not part of the Epstein Club. Right. There's a good list of bad presidents. Oh yeah. I mean, there's a there's a yeah, it's a pretty damn good list. None of these none of these presidents are Calvin, ain't nobody got time for that, Coolidge. All presidents should strive to at least emulate Calvin Coolidge and just say no to government expansion. Like, use that veto stick on everything. Smack all of the propositions down. We don't need it. We can't afford it. Nope. The logical extension of this practice is the invaluable ability to be all things to all people. Yes, to put on the mask you need to wear. Like, there's an old saying of being of many hats, which is being able to blend into many different groups by basically going along to get along. You wear the mask you need to play to the audience that you have. I don't have to wear such an extreme mask here with you guys as I do with the general public. Even people that are very close to me that know I would not steer them wrong are so emotionally invested in their own beliefs and values that it's absolutely folly for me to try to change their minds. That's a diversity of ability. You are correct, Gohagen. Like, the ability to blend in and ghost on people, not ever let them know truly where you stand, allows you to appeal to all different types. Like, and I do tend to wear more of a mask when I'm around people in the real world who are just normies, and then I take it off and I can tell all of y'all all about it. And the people who I know in the real world who aren't fucking normies, people like my good friend Rebecca, who did used to hang out here far more often. I think she still catches most of the replays, but I don't see her in chat anymore, which kind of does make me sad. But I tell them, like, this is what I've got going on over here. Like, if you really want to know where I stand on the issues, come peep my YouTube or my Rumble channel. I need a nap rewatch later. Don't worry, Michelle. We're about to wrap up, so there won't be too much to rewatch other than the like first hour that you missed, or first hour and 20 minutes. I can tell them what they want to hear. I just mostly choose not to. Like, but I mean, you can do that in a manner that doesn't evoke. Like, you don't have to tell them exactly what you think. You just kind of like deflect their questions, deflect their inquiries. If they do ask you, just go ahead and it is better to just like go along with whatever the hell uh like when people ask me like when am I ever going to settle down and find a nice girl and get married, and rather than go into a full diatribe about MGTOW philosophy, I've chosen to be like, I just haven't found the right one. Uh when I find the right one, I'll definitely settle down, have a kids, have a family. Absolutely not. Like that's a bold-faced lie, but it placates the normies, especially the women. And telling them the truth would just offend them to great degrees. It's just better that I don't. Sleep well, Shelley. Uh, I can understand the state that you were in this morning, that you would need to rest now. So rest well. We're with you. When you go into society, leave behind your own ideas and values and put on the mask that is most appropriate for the group in which you find yourself. Bismarck played this game successfully for years. There were people who vaguely understood what he was up to, but not clearly enough that it mattered. People will swallow the bait because it flatters them to believe that you share their ideas. They will not take you as a hypocrite if you are careful. For how can they accuse you of hypocrisy if you do not let them know exactly what you stand for? Nor will they see you as lacking in values. Of course, you have values. The values you share with them while in their company. Authority. Do not give dogs what is holy, and do not cast your pearls before swine, lest they trample them underfoot and turn to attack you. Lord Jesus, Matthew 7:6. Oh, for all the people who didn't know earlier when I said do not cast your pearls before swine, who said it? Yeah, it was the Lord Jesus. And he's right, as he is in all things. Image. The black, the herd shuns the sheep. The herd shuns the black sheep. We've got some typos in here. Black sheep, uncertain whether or not it belongs with them. So it straggles behind, or wanders away from the herd, where it is cornered by wolves and promptly devoured. Stay with the herd. There is safety in numbers. Keep your differences in your thoughts and not in your fleece. That's a good image, because the herd does shun the black sheep. Yep. That's why Christ is king. Ugh. All scripture is holy. Sorry, I got caught up reading everybody's conversations in chat. Let's pop this reversal real quick. The only time it is worth standing out is when you already stand out. And yeah, jumping into your like when you've already exposed yourself and people already know where you stand, it is best to just like lean all the way into it because you don't get to backpedal it. Chilomania. Good to see you, my dear. Gina. Gina. You have to say it correctly. When you have achieved an unshakable position of power and can display your differences from others as a sign of the distance between you. As President of the United States, Lyndon B. Giant Piece of Shit Johnson would sometimes hold meetings while he sat on the shitter, since no one else either could or would claim such a privilege. Johnson was showing people his Johnson, literally, that he did not have to observe the protocols and niceties of others. The Roman Emperor Caligula played the same game. He would wear a woman's negligee or a bathrobe to receive important visitors. He even went so far as to have his horse elected consul. But it backfired, for the people hated Caligula, and his gestures eventually brought his overthrow. The truth is that even those who attained the heights of power would be better off at least affecting the common touch, for at some point they may need popular support. I mean, the current regime is failing miserably in affecting the common touch and seems completely devoid of what the average person values in modern society. It's almost like they don't care and don't work for you. And we see how that goes historically. You didn't learn from history, you wanted to erase it. But it's not going to save you in the long run. Finally, there is always a place for the gadfly, the person who successfully defies custom and mocks what has grown lifeless in a culture. This is the role of the comedian, the poet, the musician. These are the people who are allowed to openly disdain the modern orthodoxy, and they are like being attacked as we speak, but they gain large popularity because they are a different type of entity. They're creating something that is extremely appealing for that purpose. Oscar Wilde, for example, achieved considerable social power on this foundation. He made it clear that he disdained the usual ways of doing things, and when he gave public readings, his audiences not only expected him to insult them, but welcomed it. I mean, George Carlin, uh, Dave Chappelle, they come to mind in this regard. Uh, to lesser extents, Stephen Chowderhead, um, he's one of these types. Ricky Gervais and what he did at the Oscars, I don't think they saw it coming, but they should have. He's Ricky Gervais. Javier Milei at the WEF, I don't think they saw it coming, but they should have. He's Javier Milei. I mean, did you not know what he was about? We notice, however, that his eccentric role eventually destroyed him. Even had he come to a better end, remember that he possessed an unusual genius. Without his gift to amuse and delight, his barbs would simply have offended people. That's why I put George Carlin. That's why I put Dave Chappelle. That's like that they have the ability to amuse and entertain. Roseanne Barr, Ricky Gervais, fine examples all around. Norm, the great late Norm Macdonald, just like I forgot to say the late George Carlin, but I do believe they may potentially have killed them both. They are allowed to do these things because they are funny and amusing. Because, yeah, if they weren't, they would just be assholes like me. And nobody likes that. And that, my friends, was believe as you like, but behave as others do. Joan Rivers was another perfect example. Thank you, Charlemagne. So many fine examples. Sam Hicks, yeah, okay. I mean, everybody knows a couple of the great greats that could. I mean, the roast master. God damn it. I know the name. It's right on the tip of my tongue. It's pissing me off now. Help me out, chat. Bill Hicks? Not Bill Burr. Bill Burr fell off. Who is? God, why is this name just sitting on the tip of my tongue? When it hits me later, I'm gonna be like, God dang it! Yeah, I have no idea who Frankie Boyle is, but I don't follow British people because British people aren't funny. Just for the record, there hath been no British comedian ever to do comedy correctly. Ever. Fuck out of here. Oh, yeah, that makes a big difference. Said no one ever. But hopefully, all of y'all grasp the concept of ghosting in plain sight. It seems like our man Go Hagen outright rejects the concept of ghosting in plain sight, which it is his prerogative to do so. I tell you why I do ghost in plain sight, where I do so, for the reasons that I do so. Uh, I mean, I would put Roseanne up there as the next heir apparent to Joan Rivers' throne. She may not be as crass as Joan Rivers or as direct, but Roseanne can do the same thing. And I once upon a time said that female comedians aren't funny. Roseanne and Joan Rivers only prove the law because there has to be exceptions for it to be a rule. But they are the exceptions. I literally just referenced a British comedian. I might have. I might have. I mean, Oscar Wilde. That no. I have no idea. I don't know the names of any British inherently British comedians. Oh, Ricky Gervais. Yeah, duh. Oh, fuck. My bad. Oh yeah. Duh. That one. That one. Yeah, that's shame on me. John Cleese in his early days. Oh, yeah. And I mean, these people do have the authority. Duh. Yeah. I'm I am God's most retarded soldier. Leave me alone. These are not his toughest battles. These are not even tough battles. I'm just his most retarded soldier. Hmm. I only find Monty Python very tacitly amusing. I don't find them super funny. Like they're good for a chuckle, but that's about it out of me. Just for the record, like a lot of people hate that, but that's just my opinion. There's a lot of people who people find funny that I don't find funny, and that's okay. So what's up with the Rumble side? Okay, Castro's agreeing that Roseanne is awesome. Squabab says King Chucky, but I don't get the context. That King screen is epic. Yeah, I get so lost because I sometimes forget to track Rumble because so many people just have their own conversations over there. Oh, you use the term surrender monkey? Oh, that's funny. I'm glad you did that. Like in public, yesterday was lit. I mean, oh yeah. It's really hard when you use the term surrender monkey because everybody knows you're talking about the French, even if they've never heard the term before. But it just so naturally just applies to the French. That's just so bad for the French specifically. But anyway, we have hit the 2 hour mark and we've done significant talking at length about ghosting in public. I think we could call it a close. King Charles is only funny to tampons. Oh, that's rough. Biggest joker of them all. That's what I thought he meant. Like literally the current king of England. Like, uh, this is why we did a revolution, y'all. I'm just saying. Ah, Monday, Monday, Monday. Monday, we will be back here. It is Law 39. We are down to the final 10 laws. And this one will be stir up waters to catch fish. So it looks like we're going to be making a scene. So we're going from directly from ghosting in plain sight to making a big ass scene. Good job, Darv. Good job, Chad. Good job, everybody. Thank you all for coming to this discussion and being a part of it. I love everyone's insights and opinions and thoughts on things. So, yeah, 8 o'clock Monday, we will begin the final stretch of the 48 laws. Not so many of them left to go. I mean, I think technically this is the beginning of the final stretch. We have 9 remaining after this one, so not 10. And I look forward to grinding these out with you guys so we can move on to the next thing. For all y'all who have been rocking with me from the very beginning, I love y'all the most. For all of y'all who came in somewhere in the middle, uh, go back, check out all the beginning stuff. I will be, like I said, posting the archives to my Rumble for all of you over there. Periodically, as we finish out the laws, all 48 will be up by the time the 48th law drops. I'm glad that you like it, even if you just lurk and listen. I hope everybody can lurk and listen once these are long done for as long as they're relevant in the future, and they're relevant forever. So that's why I really wanted to do this one first. To all of those in the replay gang, y'all know the comment section exists. Y'all know I appreciate questions, concerns, or emotional outbursts with all my heart. And I hope that you do drop any and all opinions. It engages with the algorithm and helps promote the channel. And it also helps to like continue the conversation. So yeah, I mean, always hit up the comment section. I read them all. I respond to pretty much all of them if I have a response. Sometimes there's nothing to say, but I'll see you all back here Monday for those who will be here Monday. If not, we play gang that. And all of you have a wonderful fucking weekend, guys. Like, seriously, though, it's getting crazy out there. Texas is now 25 states and 3 Canadian provinces. It's getting crazy out there. So, seatbelts and sidearms, everyone. Stay strapped or get clapped. Darth Hideous out. I will see you